What if the time you're living in right now isn't real time at all? What if every calendar on your wall, every date in your phone, every holiday you celebrate is only a faint shadow of something far older, far more sacred, something taken from humanity thousands of years ago? Tonight, we open a book that was suppressed for more than 2 millennia. A book so powerful that emperors ordered it burned, councils denounced it, and priests concealed it deep within the forgotten chambers of ancient monasteries. It is called the Book of Jubilees, and it does more than retell the story of creation. It unveils the true calendar of heaven, a perfect rhythm of time revealed by angels to Moses on Mount Sinai. A calendar of 364 days, not 365. A calendar in which every Sabbath falls on the same day each year, where every season unfolds in flawless symmetry, where time itself moves in harmony with the breath of God. But when humanity abandoned this sacred calendar, something fractured. Time became an instrument of power. The seasons lost their sacred meaning, and mankind drifted out of step with heaven. The Book of Jubilees was removed from Scripture because it threatened those who sought to control time itself. But here, in the stillness of this night, we return to it. So close your eyes. Let the weight of the day fall away. Step back into the age before time was distorted, when angels still walked among men, and heaven's clock beat within the human heart. This is the Book of Jubilees. Let us begin. Chapter 1. The Angel on Mount Sinai. The mountain burned not with ordinary fire of wood or stone, but with a light so pure, so overwhelming, it seemed the very fabric of the sky was being torn apart. Smoke rose in thick, dark pillars, spiraling upward like the columns of a cosmic temple. Thunder rolled across the desert floor, shaking the earth beneath the Israelites camped below. They trembled. They prayed. They dared not look up. But Moses climbed. Step by step, he ascended the jagged slopes of Mount Sinai, his staff in hand, his heart pounding. The air thinned. The wind howled around him, carrying voices he could not understand, songs that seemed to rise from the stones themselves. He had been summoned. The Lord had called him by name. Though weary and afraid, Moses did not hesitate. He knew that what awaited him at the summit was not merely a message, but a revelation that would shape the destiny of his people for generations to come. When he reached the top, the clouds parted. And there, standing in a brilliance brighter than the sun, yet softer than dawn, was the angel of the presence. He was immeasurable in stature, clothed in garments of white that shimmered like woven starlight. His face was both awe-inspiring and compassionate, bearing a wisdom older than the foundations of the world. Great wings arched from his shoulders, each feather edged in gold. In his hands were tablets, but not tablets of stone. They were made of light itself. They glowed softly, inscribed with living words that seemed to breathe and move. The letters radiated without blinding, filling the heart with holy awe. The angel spoke. His voice sounded like rushing waters, deep, clear, eternal. Moses, servant of the Most High, do not be afraid. Moses fell to his knees, his face pressed to the cold stone. He could not speak. He could scarcely breathe. The Lord has seen the suffering of his people, the angel continued. He has heard their cries. I am sent not only with the law that will guide them, but with the full history of creation, from the first day until the day when all things are made new. Moses lifted his head, wonder and fear mingling in his eyes. What must I do, my Lord? The angel stepped closer. The air around him hummed with quiet power like the steady beating of a vast, unseen heart. You are to write, Moses. Write all that I reveal to you, the works of creation, the divisions of time, the laws of the heavens, the covenants with your fathers. And above all, write the calendar of heaven, the sacred rhythm by which all things were made, and by which all things shall return to the Lord. Moses looked at the radiant tablets. Is this the law? The angel smiled gently. This is more than the law. This is the memory of heaven. These tablets have existed since before the world began, preserved in the courts of the Most High, where every deed of man, every breath of creation, every movement of the stars is recorded. He extended the tablets, and Moses saw writing so vast and intricate it could take a lifetime to read. "Here is the history of the world," the angel said, "divided into weeks of years, into jubilees. Every 7 years is a Sabbath of years. 7 Sabbaths of years, 49 years, lead to the 50th year, the year of Jubilee. In that year, debts are forgiven, slaves are freed, and the earth itself rests in the arms of God." Moses trembled. "How long must I write, my Lord?" 40 days and 40 nights. "You shall neither eat nor drink, for you will be sustained by the presence of the Lord. And when you descend from this mountain, you will carry not only commandments, but the knowledge of time itself, so your people may walk in step with heaven." Moses bowed his head. "I am ready." The angel placed his hand upon Moses' shoulder. Strength flooded him, not his own, but given, a peace that silenced every fear. "Rise, Moses, son of Amram, and write." The heavens opened wider. Light descended, brilliant, complete, containing every color, every sound, every moment that had ever been or would ever be. Moses rose. He took the stylus offered to him and began to write, not merely on stone or parchment, but upon his own heart. For what was being revealed was not simply history, but eternity's map. A guide for every soul seeking to return to heaven's rhythm, to the time when God walked in the garden, in the cool of the day, and all creation moved in harmony with his breath. The angel opened the first tablet. "In the beginning," he said softly, "God created the heavens and the earth, and with them he created time." And Moses wrote, "Passover shall be kept on the 15th day of the first month. The Feast of Weeks shall be celebrated 50 days after Passover. The Day of Atonement shall fall on the 10th day of the 7th month, and the Feast of Tabernacles on the 15th day of the 7th month." Moses wrote swiftly now, his hand moving with steady purpose, the words flowing like a river set free. "And every 7th year," the angel continued, "shall be a Sabbath year, a year in which the land rests, and the people remember that all things belong to the Lord. And after 7 Sabbath years, 49 years in all, there shall come the 50th year, the year of Jubilee. In that year every debt is forgiven, every slave is set free, and the earth itself is renewed." He paused, and his voice softened, almost tender. "This is the rhythm of heaven, Moses, the heartbeat of creation. It has been forgotten by the nations, buried by those who seek to control time for their own purposes. But it has never truly been lost. And now, through you, it will be restored to the people of God." Moses looked up, tears glistening in his eyes. "My Lord, I do not deserve this honor." The angel smiled gently. "None of us deserves the gifts of God, Moses. Yet he gives them freely. He has chosen you, not because you are perfect, but because you are faithful." He touched Moses' forehead, and warmth flooded through him, filling him with a peace deeper than he had ever known. "Write, Moses, write until the sun rises. Write until your hand grows weary. Write until every word is carved into your heart. For what you are recording is not merely a calendar, it is a covenant, a promise, a path back to the garden, to the place where time and eternity met in the cool of the day, and God walked with man in perfect harmony." Moses bowed his head. "I will write, my Lord." And so he did. The night deepened. The stars turned slowly overhead. And upon the summit of Mount Sinai, bathed in the radiance of heaven, Moses continued to write the sacred rhythm that would guide his people through wilderness and wandering, through centuries of darkness and light, until the day when all things would be made new and time itself would bow before the throne of God. The angel watched in silence, and the fire on the mountain burned on. Chapter 3, Creation. Once more the angel's hand moved across the tablet of light, and the radiance around them shifted, deepening into colors Moses had never seen, hues that seemed to exist somewhere between blue and gold, between shadow and brilliance, as though creation itself were unfolding in layers before his eyes. "Now, Moses," the angel said, his voice rich with ancient memory, "I will show you what happened in the beginning, not as men have retold it, not as scribes have shortened it, but as it truly was measured in the rhythm of heaven, counted in the sacred weeks that bind all things together." Moses leaned forward, breath shallow, heart open. The angel began. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The words lingered in the air like music, and Moses saw it, the formless void, the deep waters cloaked in darkness. Above them moved the Spirit of God, like a breath, like a wind, like the softest whisper of love over the face of the deep. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. Not the light of the sun, for the sun had not yet been made. Not the light of fire, for fire still slept within the heart of stone. This was the first light, the uncreated light, the light that flowed directly from the presence of God himself. It poured out like a river, flooding the darkness, driving it back to the edges of existence. And when it settled, the world was no longer without form. It had structure, it had order, it had hope. And God separated the light from the darkness, the angel continued. He called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning the first day. Moses watched as light and shadow moved in perfect balance, neither overpowering the other, both held within the will of the Creator. But what men do not know, the angel said, turning to him, is that on the first day God also created the angels. Moses' eyes widened. "The angels, my Lord?" The angel nodded. "Yes, for we were there, Moses. We stood at the foundations of the earth. We sang when the morning stars burst forth together. We witnessed the light breaking through the darkness, and we fell before the throne of the Most High, crying, 'Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty.'" He paused, and sorrow flickered in his voice. Not all of us remained faithful, but on that first day we were united in worship, clothed in light, given purpose to serve the Creator and to watch over his creation. A shiver ran through Moses. He had always known of angels, but never imagined they had witnessed the birth of the world itself. On the second day, the angel continued, God made the firmament. Moses saw the waters divide, some rising into the heights, others sinking into the depths. Between them stretched a vast expanse of sky, clear and endless, like a veil drawn between heaven and earth. He called the firmament heaven, the angel said, and it was not merely empty space. It was a boundary, a threshold, the place where the visible and the invisible meet. Above it are the waters of heaven, the source of rain, of life, of blessing. Below are the waters of the earth, seas and rivers, and springs that give drink to every living thing. The vision shimmered before Moses, vast and alive. And still the angel continued. Moses wrote quickly now, his hand steady, capturing every word. On the third day, the angel said, God gathered the waters beneath the heavens into one place and called them seas, and he caused the dry ground to appear, and he called it earth. Moses saw the land rise from the depths, mountains thrusting upward, valleys folding into shadow, plains stretching wide beneath the sky. Every ridge, every contour was shaped by the careful hand of God. Then the angel's voice brightened, and God said, Let the earth bring forth vegetation plants yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit according to their kind, with seed in themselves. And it was so. The earth erupted with life. Green shoots burst through the soil and spread like a living tide. Trees rose tall, branches heavy with fruit, leaves shimmering in the newborn light. Flowers bloomed in countless colors, filling the air with fragrance. The ground itself seemed to hum with quiet joy. This, the angel said softly, was the first Sabbath within creation. For the earth rested in the goodness of God, clothed in beauty, prepared for the life yet to come. On the fourth day, God made the sun, the moon, and the stars. Moses watched the sky ignite. The sun blazed forth a radiant sphere of fire, pouring warmth and brilliance over the face of the earth. The moon rose, pale and gentle, reflecting the sun's glory. And the stars, countless and shimmering, were scattered across the heavens like seeds sown by an unseen hand. And God set them in the firmament, the angel said, to give light upon the earth, to separate day from night, and to serve as signs for seasons, for days, and for years. He fixed his gaze on Moses. This is the day, Moses, when time itself was given form. Before this, there was only the rhythm of light and darkness, But now there were markers, measures, a way to count the turning of days and the passing of seasons. This is the day the calendar of heaven was born. A deep reverence settled over Moses. Now he understood why the sacred year began on the fourth day, Wednesday. It was the day the heavens declared the glory of God, when the rhythm of creation became visible to all. On the fifth day, God spoke to the waters and to the sky. Moses saw the seas stir with life. Fish of every kind, from the smallest silver minnow to the great leviathan, swam through the depths. Whales broke the surface, their songs echoing through the waters. Above, birds took flight, wings catching the light, voices filling the air with music. And God blessed them, the angel said, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the skies." Moses smiled as he watched them move, each creature a living reflection of the Creator's boundless imagination. On the sixth day, God made the creatures of the land. They emerged from the earth itself, cattle grazing peacefully across the fields, beasts of the wild roaming strong and untamed, lions, bears, wolves, creatures that crept and crawled, serpents and lizards and insects, moving through grass and shadow. Then the angel's voice deepened with awe. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness." Moses felt his breath catch. The scene shifted. The earth grew still. The animals paused. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. God knelt. He took dust from the ground, ordinary dust, the same dust that clung to mountains and valleys, and shaped it with his own hands. He formed a body, perfect and complete. Then he leaned close, and he breathed. The breath of God entered the dust, and the dust became a living soul. Adam opened his eyes. And God blessed him, the angel said softly, and gave him dominion over the earth, over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and every living thing that moves upon the ground. Moses saw Adam standing tall, wonder shining in his face. He saw God walking with him in the garden, teaching him the names of the animals, showing him rivers that shimmered like silver threads, trees heavy with fruit. At last, God brought him to two trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And God said, "Of every tree in the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day you eat of it you shall surely die." Adam nodded, his eyes clear, his heart untroubled. Then God caused a deep sleep to fall upon him. From his side he took a rib, and from that rib he formed a woman. When Adam awoke and saw her, joy lit his face. "This is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man." And God blessed them both. "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it." And on the seventh day, the angel said reverently, God rested. Moses saw the garden bathed in golden light, soft and warm. Adam and Eve knelt together, hands lifted in worship. Around them gathered the angels, their voices rising in harmonies so beautiful it seemed to embrace the entire universe. And God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, for on that day he rested from all his work. And he commanded that all creation should rest with him, that every seventh day be a Sabbath, a day of peace, a day of remembrance, a day to know that all things come from him and return to him. The vision lingered radiant, complete, and Moses wrote. Tears streamed down Moses' face. He had heard the story of creation since childhood. He had recited it, taught it, preserved it, but he had never felt it like this. He had never understood that creation was not merely an event buried in the distant past. It was a living rhythm, a sacred pattern woven into the fabric of existence itself. The angel placed a steady hand on his shoulder. "This, Moses, is the week of creation, 7 days, each one measured, each one holy, each one a step in the great dance between heaven and earth. And every week that follows every Sabbath your people keep is an echo of that first week, a way of walking in step with the Creator himself." Moses bowed his head. "I understand, my Lord." The angel smiled. "Then write, Moses. Write so your people will never forget. Write so that when they keep the Sabbath, they will remember they are joining the rhythm of creation. The rhythm set in motion before the foundation of the world and destined to continue until all things are made new." And Moses wrote, The fire on the mountain burned on. Chapter 4. Adam's First Jubilee. The light around Moses shifted once more, softening into the warm gold of evening. The vast cosmic scenes faded, replaced by something smaller, more intimate. A garden enclosed, a place where heaven and earth touched without barrier. He saw Eden. It was more beautiful than poetry could hold, more alive than imagination could sustain. Rivers flowed like veins of light through the land, their waters crystal clear, singing as they moved over smooth stones. Trees rose tall and graceful, branches heavy with fruit that glowed softly as if lit from within. Flowers bloomed in colors beyond naming, and the air itself seemed to hum with the nearness of God. And there, walking hand in hand along a path of soft grass, were Adam and Eve. They were clothed in light, not fabric, but radiance flowing from within them, pure, unashamed. Their faces were peaceful, their eyes unclouded. When they spoke, their words carried laughter and wonder. "This, Moses," the angel said quietly, "is how it was meant to be. This is the world as God designed it before sin, before death, before the calendar of heaven was broken." Moses felt a deep ache rise within him. "How long, my Lord?" he whispered. "How long did they live in this peace?" The angel's gaze grew distant, touched by both beauty and sorrow. 7 years, Moses. 7 perfect years. From the day Adam was formed until the day he ate from the forbidden tree, 7 years passed. 1 week of years, 1 Sabbath cycle. In that time, Adam and Eve walked with God in the cool of the day. They kept the Sabbath, they tended the garden, they lived fully within the rhythm of heaven. The vision began to unfold like a living memory. In the first year, the angel said, Adam learned the names of all the creatures. God brought them before him one by one, and Adam spoke their names aloud. And the animals bowed before him, for he bore the image of God, and they recognized the authority placed within him. Moses saw Adam kneeling beside a lion, his hand resting gently on its mane as the great beast purred like a lamb. He saw him laughing as otters played in the river. He saw him standing still, watching an eagle soar, wonder shining in his face. In the second year, the angel continued, God taught Adam the calendar of heaven. He showed him the movements of the sun and moon and stars. He taught him to count the days, to mark the Sabbaths, to celebrate the appointed times. And Adam recorded these things on tablets of stone, so that his descendants would remember. Moses' heart leapt. Adam knew the calendar, my Lord. The angel nodded. Yes, Moses, the calendar was not first given to you on this mountain. It was first entrusted to Adam in the garden, in the days when heaven and earth were still united. He kept it faithfully. He taught it to his children. It passed through Seth, through Enoch, through Noah, until it came to Abraham, your father. The angel's voice grew heavier. But when Adam fell, the calendar was not destroyed, it was forgotten. Buried beneath sin, obscured by death, distorted by the corrupted reckonings of fallen men. A chill ran through Moses. When did he fall, my Lord? In which year? The angel's eyes darkened. In the 8th year, Moses. In the year that should have begun a new cycle, the year that should have marked the start of another Sabbath week. That was the year they were deceived. The vision shifted. Moses saw the serpent coiled around the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Its scales shimmered with unnatural light. Its eyes gleamed with intelligence and malice. It was no mere creature of the field. It moved with a knowing that hinted at something fallen, something once greater. And it spoke. Has God really said, "You shall not eat of every tree in the garden"? Its voice was smooth, persuasive. Eve stood before the tree, troubled but resolute. "We may eat of the fruit of the trees," she replied. "But of the tree in the midst of the garden, God has said, 'You shall not eat it, nor shall you touch it, lest you die.'" The serpent laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "You will not surely die, for God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened. You will be like him, knowing good and evil." Eve looked at the fruit. It was beautiful, luminous, strangely compelling. As she gazed at it, something shifted within her, a seed of doubt, a flicker of pride, a longing to reach beyond what had been given. She reached out. She took the fruit. She ate. Moses wanted to cry out to warn her, to stop what was unfolding, but he could only watch. Eve turned and offered the fruit to Adam. He stood beside her, silent. His face was filled with sorrow, yet he chose to follow her into the fall. He took the fruit. He ate, and in that instant, everything changed. The light that clothed them flickered and went out. They stood naked, ashamed. The air grew cold. The sky darkened. And in the distance, Moses heard a sound he had never known before, a low, aching groan, as though the earth itself were weeping. The angel's voice trembled with grief. On that day, the angel said, his voice heavy with grief, death entered the world. Not only the death of the body, but the death of time itself. The sacred rhythm was fractured. The calendar of heaven was shattered. Adam and Eve were driven from the garden into a world where time no longer flowed in harmony with God, but dragged itself forward in sorrow and confusion. Moses saw them stumble through the gates of Eden, faces streaked with tears, hands clutching leaves to cover their nakedness. Behind them stood an angel with a flaming sword, its fire flashing like lightning, guarding the way to the tree of life. And from that moment, the angel continued, the world began to forget. The nations abandoned the calendar of heaven. They followed the moon and wandering stars. They invented cycles to honor kings and false gods. They lost the Sabbath. They lost the appointed festivals. They lost the rhythm that bound them to their Creator. But the angel turned to Moses, and his eyes burned with fierce resolve. God did not abandon them. Even in their fall, he made a promise. He spoke the ancient words. I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. That, the angel said softly, was the first promise of redemption, the first glimpse of the one who would restore what was lost. Hope surged within Moses. And the calendar, my Lord, can it be restored? The angel smiled. That is why you are here, Moses. That is why the Lord has called you to this mountain. Through you, the calendar of heaven will be returned to his people. Through you, the sacred rhythm will be remembered. And one day, when the promised one comes, all things will be made new, and time itself will be healed. Moses bowed his head. Then I will write, my Lord. I will write until every word is engraved upon my heart. The angel laid his hand upon Moses' shoulder. Good, for the story has only begun. And Moses wrote. He wrote of Adam's sorrow, of the long years east of Eden, of Cain and Abel, of the first blood spilled upon the earth, of Seth the son given in place of Abel, through whom the righteous line would endure. He wrote of Adam's final days, when he gathered his children and said, remember the calendar of heaven. Do not follow the ways of the nations. Keep the Sabbath. Honor the Lord. For one day he will send a Redeemer, and all things will be restored. And when Adam died 930 years after his creation, angels carried his soul to the place of rest, where he would wait for the fulfillment of the promise. The angel turned to Moses. Adam's first jubilee lasted 7 years, but the jubilees of his descendants shall be greater 49 years, 7 times 7, and then the 50th year, the year of release, the year when debts are forgiven, slaves are freed, and restoration is proclaimed. This is the pattern that will guide your people through the ages until the final jubilee, when the earth itself is set free from the bondage of sin. Tears glistened on Moses' cheeks. I understand, my Lord. The angel nodded. Then let us continue, for there is much more to tell. And the fire on the mountain burned on. Chapter 5. The Watchers and the Corruption of Time. The light around Moses dimmed. The warmth faded from the air, replaced by a cold that crept into his bones. The vision shifted. No longer Eden, no longer sorrowful exile, something darker. He saw the heavens open, and from them descended 200 angels. They were not like the angel of the presence who stood beside him. They were not clothed in pure light, nor moving with obedient grace. These were different. Their faces were stern, their eyes restless, burning with forbidden longing. As they descended, the air crackled with a power both glorious and terrible. Who are they, my Lord? Moses whispered. They are the Watchers, the angel replied. sorrow woven into his voice. They were sent to guard mankind, to watch over the children of Adam and ensure they walked in the ways of the Lord. But they did not remain faithful. The vision sharpened. They saw the daughters of men, and they desired them. And they made a covenant, a dreadful oath, to descend and take wives from among humanity. A chill swept through Moses. "When did this happen, my Lord?" "In the days of Jared," the angel answered, "when the sons of Seth still dwelt upon the holy mountain, and the descendants of Cain had spread across the plains, building cities, forging weapons, worshipping false gods. The world was growing dark. Sin spread like a plague. The line between righteous and wicked began to blur." He paused, voice heavy. "And instead of guarding mankind from corruption, the watchers became its source." The image shifted again. A towering mountain rose from the earth, its peak wrapped in mist and shadow. "This is Mount Hermon," the angel said, "the mountain of the oath." The watchers stood in a circle, faces grim, hands clasped in unity and defiance. Their leader was Samyaza. With him were 19 chiefs, each commanding 10 beneath them, 200 in all. Moses saw Samyaza step forward, his voice echoing across the mountain. "I fear that I alone will bear the punishment for this great sin. Let us all swear an oath, binding ourselves with mutual curses, that none will turn back until this deed is done." And they swore. They swore by the name of the Almighty, by the authority entrusted to them to serve him. They bound themselves with curses that could not be undone. Then they descended. They took human wives. And from those unions, the angel said, his voice dark, were born the Nephilim, the giants, the offspring of the fallen. They brought terror upon the earth. Violence filled the land. Blood cried out from the ground. The air around Moses seemed to tremble. And that, the angel said quietly, was only the beginning. Moses saw them, towering figures, vast and terrible, half divine and half human. Their bodies were immense, their strength overwhelming, their eyes burning with an unnatural fire. They were not like the children of Adam. They were something other, something that should never have existed. As they strode across the earth, the ground trembled beneath their feet. They devoured everything, the angel said, disgust in his voice. The crops, the livestock, the wild animals, and when nothing remained, they turned upon mankind itself. Moses saw the horror unfold, villages crushed, blood spilled without mercy, human flesh consumed. The cries of the suffering rose to heaven, the angel continued, and God heard. Moses felt nausea twist within him. "But my Lord," he whispered, voice shaking, "you said they corrupted time itself. How? How did they do that?" The angel's eyes flashed. "Because, Moses, the watchers did not only teach weapons, sorcery, and forbidden arts. They taught mankind to abandon the calendar of heaven." The vision shifted. Moses saw Azazel standing before a gathering of men, his hands lifted toward the sky, his voice smooth and persuasive. "You have followed the wrong rhythm," Azazel said. "You keep the Sabbath on the same day, again and again, like slaves bound to a chain. But time is not fixed. Time is fluid. It bends to those who understand it." The men listened, hungry for hidden knowledge. "Look at the moon," Azazel continued, pointing upward. "See how it waxes and wanes, moving independent of the sun. That is the true measure of time. Follow the moon, count your months by its phases, and when the seasons drift, adjust them. Add days, subtract days. Make time serve you instead of serving time." Horror washed over Moses. He taught them the lunar calendar. The angel nodded grimly. Yes, and with that single deception, the sacred rhythm was fractured. The Sabbaths no longer aligned, the festivals drifted, the seasons lost their order. Mankind stumbled forward in a distorted version of time, no longer walking in step with the Creator. The vision expanded. Kokabeel taught the movements of the stars, turning astronomy into astrology, teaching men to worship the heavens instead of the one who made them. Barakel taught the omens of lightning and storms, twisting God's signs into instruments of superstition and control. Amaros taught enchantments, the manipulation of spiritual forces, the distortion of what was holy. They took the knowledge of heaven, the angel said, voice heavy with sorrow, and twisted it, corrupted it, weaponized it, until mankind no longer knew what was sacred and what was profane. Tears streamed down Moses' face. "And God, my Lord, what did God do?" The angel's voice grew firm. "He judged them. He sent the 4 great archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, to bind the watchers in the depths of the earth. They were cast into darkness, sealed until the day of final judgment. And he sent the flood. The vision darkened. Rain poured in torrents. The fountains of the deep burst open. Waters rose over mountains and valleys, swallowing cities, forests, and the giants who had terrorized the earth. Moses saw Noah, the one righteous man, standing upon the ark, face lifted toward heaven, sorrow and hope mingled in his eyes. But even after the flood, the angel said quietly, corruption lingered. The calendar of heaven had been forgotten by the nations. They followed the moon, the stars, the cycles of kings and priests. Only a remnant remembered. The angel turned to Moses. "That is why you are here. The watchers sought to destroy the calendar of heaven, but they failed. God preserved it through Noah, through Abraham, through Isaac and Jacob. And now through you, it will be restored to Israel, so they may walk once more in the rhythm of heaven." Moses bowed his head. "I will write it, my Lord, every word." The angel smiled, fierce and radiant. "Then write, Moses." The watchers fell. The calendar was corrupted. But God's rhythm cannot be destroyed. It can only be forgotten. And now it will be remembered. Moses took up his stylus. He wrote of the oath on Mount Hermon. He wrote of the descent of the watchers. He wrote of the Nephilim and the corruption of time. He wrote of judgment, of the binding of the fallen, of the flood that cleansed the earth, and of the promise that one day all things would be restored. The angel watched in silence, and the fire on the mountain burned on. Chapter 6. Noah and the Restoration. The waters began to recede. Moses watched as the flood that had drowned mountains and valleys, cities and forests, slowly withdrew. The rain ceased. The clouds parted. The sun broke through brighter, purer, as though the earth itself had been washed clean. The ark rested upon the heights of Mount Ararat, rising from the waters like a temple from the deep. Its wood was weathered but unbroken. Its pitch still held firm. Inside, Noah and his family waited, listening to the silence that follows judgment, the silence that carries the first whisper of hope. "This, Moses," the angel said softly, "is where time begins again. Not the first creation, but the renewal." Moses felt awe stir within him. Noah knew, didn't he? He knew the calendar of heaven. The angel nodded. Yes, Noah was not merely righteous. He was a keeper of the sacred rhythm. His father Lamech taught him. His grandfather Methuselah taught him. And Methuselah learned it from Enoch, who walked with God and was taken without tasting death. The vision shifted. Moses saw a young Noah seated at the feet of Methuselah, an ancient man whose face bore centuries of life, yet whose eyes still shone with heaven's light. "My son," Methuselah said gently, "the world is falling into darkness. Men follow the moon and the corrupted reckonings taught by the watchers. They have forgotten heaven's rhythm. But you must not forget. Keep the true calendar 364 days, 4 seasons, 52 weeks. Keep the Sabbath on its appointed day. Celebrate the festivals at their proper times. For one day God will cleanse the earth. And when he does, the calendar must survive." Noah bowed his head. "I will remember, grandfather. I will keep it faithfully." Methuselah placed his hand upon Noah's head. "Through you, the sacred rhythm will pass into the new world. You will be the bridge between what was and what will be." The scene shifted again. The flood began. The fountains of the deep burst forth. The windows of heaven opened wide. Water fell in torrents that shook the foundations of the earth. The Nephilim fled, but there was nowhere to escape. The waters swallowed everything. Only the ark remained, floating alone upon the face of the deep. And even as the world drowned, the angel said, Noah kept the calendar. He counted the days. He marked the Sabbaths. He remembered the appointed times. He did not allow chaos to steal the rhythm from his heart. Moses saw Noah standing on the deck of the ark, a small tablet in his hands, carving careful marks into stone, counting weeks, counting months, keeping time, even when time itself seemed shattered. And on the 17th day of the second month, the angel continued. And on the 17th day of the second month, the angel continued. The fountains of the deep were closed, and the rain ceased. The vision shifted, and on the 17th day of the seventh month, exactly 5 months later, the ark came to rest upon the mountains of Ararat. A chill of recognition ran through Moses. 5 months, exactly 150 days. The angel smiled. Yes, Moses, 30 days per month, 5 months, 150 days. The calendar of heaven preserved even in the midst of judgment. For God's rhythm does not change, even when the world falls apart. The waters receded, the earth emerged, mud hardened beneath the sun. Green shoots pushed upward through the dark soil. Life returned. Noah opened the door of the ark. He stepped onto the damp ground and fell to his knees, lifting his hands toward heaven. "O Lord my God," he cried, voice breaking, "you have been faithful, you have preserved us. Teach me how to live in this new world. Show me how to walk in your rhythm once more." And God answered. An angel appeared before Noah, clothed in radiant light. In his hands were tablets glowing softly inscribed with the sacred calendar. "Noah," the angel said gently, "you were faithful in judgment. You kept the calendar when the world forgot it. Now I return it to you not as something old, but as something renewed, so that your children and your children's children may walk in the ways of the Lord." He placed the tablets into Noah's hands. The year begins on the first day of the first month, always a Wednesday, for that was the day the heavenly lights were set in the firmament. Each season contains 91 days. Each month holds 30 or 31 days. Every 7th year is a Sabbath year. Every 49th year is followed by the Jubilee, the year of release, when debts are forgiven and slaves are freed. Tears streamed down Noah's face. "I will teach it, my Lord. I will teach it to my sons, and they to their sons. The calendar of heaven will never be lost again." The angel smiled. "Good, for the covenant I am about to make with you depends upon it." The sky cleared. The clouds parted. Light streamed through, warm, radiant, filled with promise. And then a rainbow appeared. It arched across the heavens, colors blazing with a brilliance no eye had seen before, a bridge between heaven and earth. "This is my covenant with you," God declared, his voice like thunder and yet tender as a father's whisper. "Never again shall the earth be destroyed by flood. When the rain falls and the bow appears in the clouds, I will remember my promise, and you and your descendants shall remember that I am faithful." Noah fell face down. "We will remember, Lord. We will keep your covenant. We will keep your calendar. We will walk in your rhythm." And God blessed him. "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth. Teach your children to walk in my ways, so that when the promised one comes, the earth will be ready." The angel turned to Moses, quiet joy in his voice. Noah kept the covenant. He built an altar. He offered thanksgiving. Though he stumbled in weakness, he taught his sons the sacred rhythm, though not all listened. Through Shem, the blessed line endured, and from Shem came Abraham your father. Hope stirred within Moses. "And the calendar, my Lord, did it remain?" "For a time," the angel replied solemnly, "but after Noah's death, the nations scattered. The descendants of Ham and Japheth followed their own ways. They returned to the lunar reckonings. They worshipped the stars. They forgot heaven's rhythm. But through Shem, through Eber, Peleg, Reu, Serug, Nahor, the calendar was preserved, passed down like a flame in the darkness, until it reached Abraham, the friend of God. He laid a hand upon Moses' shoulder, and that is the story we tell next. For Abraham did not only receive the promise of a great nation, he received the calendar of heaven, so his descendants would worship the Lord at the appointed times, in the appointed ways, walking in step with creation itself. Moses bowed his head. "I will write it, my Lord." The angel smiled. "Then write, for the story continues and the best is yet to come." And Moses wrote. He wrote of the flood, of Noah's faithfulness, of the ark resting on Ararat, of the rainbow, the covenant, the renewal of the earth. And he wrote of the calendar preserved through judgment, restored after the waters receded, given back to humanity, so they might once again walk in the rhythm of heaven. The angel watched in silence, and the fire on the mountain burned on. Chapter 7. Abraham's Covenant and Sacred Timing. The years flowed like a river, carving deeper channels with each generation. The vision before Moses moved forward past Babel, past the scattering of tongues, past the rise and fall of early kingdoms, until it settled upon a city called Ur of the Chaldeans. In that city of towering ziggurats and star worship, where incense filled the air and idols of stone were fed with sacrifice, one man stood apart. His name was Abram. Moses saw him, a young man standing alone on a rooftop beneath the night sky. Below him, drums beat and voices chanted. Smoke rose from altars. But Abram did not bow. He looked upward. The stars blazed overhead, and within his heart a whisper stirred soft as breath. These stars did not make themselves. They were set in place by one greater than they. That one, not these lights, is the God I must serve. The angel spoke quietly beside Moses. This is the moment Abraham began to understand. He had been taught by his father Terah, who served the moon god and fashioned idols with his hands. But Abraham's heart longed for the living God, the creator of heaven and earth. Moses felt his own heart quicken. And God answered him, didn't he? The angel nodded. Yes, God always answers those who seek him with a sincere heart. The scene shifted. Abram stood in an open field outside the city. The night sky shimmered above him. Then came a voice, not thunder, not wrath, but the voice of a father calling his son, Abram. Abram fell to his knees. Yes, Lord, I am listening. Leave your country, leave your kindred and your father's house. Go to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great. And through you, all the families of the earth shall be blessed. Abram trembled. But Lord, where shall I go? I will show you. Trust me. Abram rose, resolve written across his face. I will go, Lord. Wherever you lead, I will follow. Moses saw him gather Sarai, Lot, servants, flocks, leaving Ur behind. They journeyed across rivers and deserts into lands unknown, guided only by God's voice and the steady rhythm of faith. And as they traveled, the angel appeared to Abram once more. He carried tablets of light, glowing softly in the darkness. Abram knelt. You have left behind the false gods and the corrupted calendars of the nations, the angel said. Now I will teach you the true calendar, the rhythm of heaven, so that you may worship the Lord at the appointed times, in the appointed ways. Abram lifted his eyes, and they were filled with grateful tears. Teach me, my Lord, he said. I am ready. The angel smiled. The year of heaven contains 364 days, divided into 4 seasons of 91 days each. The first month begins on a Wednesday, the 4th day of the week, for that is the day the lights of heaven were set in the firmament. Each week contains 7 days, and every 7th day is the Sabbath, a day of rest, a day of remembrance, a day to know that all things come from the Lord and return to him. Abram listened, his heart burning with understanding. And the festivals, my Lord, when shall we celebrate them? The angel's voice grew solemn. There are 4 great festivals in the year, Abram, and each one is a shadow of the covenant God will make with you and with your descendants. He raised one finger. First, Passover, on the 15th day of the first month. The Feast of Deliverance, when God will rescue his people from bondage and bring them into the land of promise. Abram nodded, though he did not yet know how deep that promise would one day run. The angel raised a second finger. Second, the Feast of Weeks, 50 days after Passover. The Feast of Harvest, when first fruits are offered to the Lord, a sign that every good thing comes from his hand. A third finger. Third, the Day of Atonement, on the 10th day of the 7th month. The day when sin is covered, when the high priest enters the Holy of Holies and offers sacrifice for the nation. And then a fourth. Fourth, the Feast of Tabernacles on the 15th day of the 7th month. The Feast of Thanksgiving, when the people remember the wilderness journey and give thanks for harvest and for the faithfulness of God. Abram's face shone. I will keep them, my Lord, every Sabbath, every feast, every appointed time, and I will teach them to my children, so they will never forget." The angel placed his hand upon Abram's head. "Good, for these festivals are not mere rituals. They are the heartbeat of the covenant, the rhythm by which your descendants will walk in step with heaven. And when the promised one comes, he will fulfill every one of them in his life, in his death, and in his rising again." The years passed, and Moses watched as Abraham, for that was the name God gave him, walked faithfully within the calendar of heaven. And when Isaac was born, it was at the appointed time, in the 50th year of Abraham's journey, the year of Jubilee, the year of release, the year when all things are made new. Moses saw Abraham holding the child, tears running freely down his face. "You are the child of promise," Abraham whispered. "You are the fulfillment of God's word. Through you, all nations will be blessed." When Isaac grew, Abraham taught him what the angel had taught. "My son," he said, "time is not ours to master. It is a gift from God, a sacred rhythm that flows from his heart to ours. If we walk in step with him, we will find peace. But if we follow the calendars of men, lunar cycles, star worship, invented festivals, we will wander in confusion." Isaac listened, and he remembered, and when Isaac had a son, Jacob, he taught him the same truths, passing the calendar down like a torch carried through darkness. Moses saw Jacob wrestling by the river Jabbok, the night air trembling with mystery. He saw the blessing spoken over him. "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men, and you have prevailed." Jacob built an altar there. He kept the Sabbath. He honored the appointed festivals. Even in struggle and sorrow, he walked in the rhythm of heaven. The angel turned to Moses. "Do you see? From Noah to Abraham, from Abraham to Isaac, from Isaac to Jacob, the calendar has been preserved, passed down through the faithful remnant, those who refused the ways of the nations." Moses felt awe settle over him like a mantle. "But my Lord," he asked quietly, "if the calendar is so important, why do the nations not keep it? Why do they follow the moon, the stars, the invented cycles?" The angel's expression grew somber. "Because the calendar of heaven requires what the nations will not give: submission. It requires them to admit that time is not theirs to control, that they are not the masters of their own destiny, that there is a rhythm greater than their desires, and they must bend their will to the will of God." He paused, and his voice softened. "That is why the watchers corrupted it. That is why the nations follow the moon, and that is why your people must be different. If Israel keeps the calendar of heaven, they become a living testimony that God is real, that his ways are higher than man's ways, and that true freedom is found not in controlling time, but in surrendering to the one who made it." Moses bowed his head. "I understand, my Lord." The angel smiled. "Then write, Moses. Write so your people will never forget, so that when they celebrate Passover, they remember God delivers at the appointed time. So that when they keep the Sabbath, they remember time itself is a gift, a sacred rhythm that ties them to the heartbeat of heaven." Moses took up his stylus, and he wrote of Abraham's journey, of covenant and promise, of Isaac's birth in Jubilee. He wrote of festivals and Sabbaths, of the sacred rhythm preserved through generations. He wrote of the promise that through Abraham's seed, all nations would one day be blessed and heaven's calendar restored to all the earth. The angel watched in silence, and the fire on the mountain burned on. Chapter 8. Moses and the Heavenly Tablets. The light around Moses intensified brighter, warmer, until he felt himself lifted, as though the mountain beneath him were rising, pushing through cloud and sky, through the firmament itself, until he stood at the very threshold of heaven. The angel spoke in a hush of reverence. "Moses, what I will show you now is not merely history. It is the foundation of all that has been and all that will be. You are about to see the heavenly tablets, the books that have existed since before the world began, where every deed, every breath, every moment of creation is written by the hand of God." Moses trembled. "My Lord, I am not worthy to see such things." The angel steadied him with a hand upon his shoulder. "No one is worthy. but God in mercy chooses whom he will. He has chosen you not because of your strength, but because of your faithfulness. Open your eyes, Moses. Behold what few have ever seen. Moses lifted his gaze, and he saw them, the heavenly tablets. They were not stone, not parchment, nothing earthly. They were woven from light itself, pure and radiant, suspended before the throne of God, turning slowly like the wheels of some vast eternal design. Each tablet was inscribed with writing so intricate, so vast, Moses knew 1,000 lifetimes would not be enough to read it all. The letters glowed, shifting, moving as though alive. And with a shock, Moses realized the tablets did not only record the past, they revealed the future. These are the tablets of heaven, the angel said, awe in his voice. Upon them is written the history of the world, from the first day of creation to the day when all things are made new. Every generation is recorded here, every covenant, every promise, every sin, every act of righteousness. Nothing is forgotten, nothing is lost. Moses' knees weakened. He would have fallen, but the angel held him upright. "Look closer, Moses," the angel said. "See what is written." Moses stepped forward, heart hammering, and looked upon the nearest tablet. He saw Adam, the breath of God, entering dust, the first human eyes opening to behold the face of the Creator. He saw the fall, the serpent, the tree, Eve's hand reaching, Adam's choice. He saw Cain's rage, Abel's blood crying from the earth, the ground opening its mouth to swallow the first murder. He saw the watchers descend the oath on Mount Hermon, the Nephilim born, corruption spreading like poison. He saw the flood waters rising, the ark alone upon the deep, Noah stepping into a washed world. He saw Abraham leaving Ur, Isaac bound upon the altar, Jacob wrestling through the night, Joseph sold into slavery, then raised as a prince of Egypt. And then he saw himself. Moses gasped. On the tablet of light, his own life unfolded, his mother placing him in a basket of reeds, setting him adrift on the Nile, Pharaoh's daughter lifting him from the waters, naming him Moses because she had drawn him out, the palace, the suffering of his people, the Egyptians struck down, the wilderness, the burning bush. And this moment, standing on the mountain, beholding the tablets, writing the Book of Jubilees. "My Lord," Moses whispered, voice breaking, "how can this be? How can my life be written here when I have not yet lived it?" The angel's eyes were gentle, sorrowful. "Because time, Moses, is not what you think. To God there is no past, no present, no future. All things exist in his eternal now. What you call the future is already complete in the mind of God. What you call the past," the angel said, "is still alive in his memory. And what you call the present is the meeting place, the point where eternity touches the world of men." Tears streamed down Moses' face. "Then, all of this was planned," he whispered. "All of it was written before I was born." The angel nodded slowly. "Yes, Moses. Your life, your calling, your purpose, all of it was written on these tablets before the foundation of the world." Moses staggered under the weight of it. "But do not confuse this with a lack of freedom," the angel continued, voice steady and kind. "The Lord does not write your story against your will. He writes it with your will. He knows the choices you will make because he knows your heart, and he has woven those choices into the tapestry of his eternal design." Moses could barely grasp what he was hearing. "And the calendar, my Lord, is it written here as well?" The angel's face brightened. "Yes, look." He gestured to another tablet, and Moses saw it, the sacred calendar laid out in perfect order. 364 days, 52 weeks, 4 seasons, Sabbaths, festivals, all inscribed in letters like fire. "This calendar," the angel said, "is not a human invention. It is the rhythm of creation itself, the heartbeat of the universe, the pulse of God's breath as he spoke the world into being. It was established on the 4th day, when the heavenly lights were set in the firmament, and it will endure to the end." Moses stared, overwhelmed. "But if it is written in heaven, why do the nations not follow it?" The angel's expression sobered. "Because the nations have chosen their own way. They have abandoned the rhythm of heaven and followed the rhythms of earth, the moon, the wandering stars, the cycles of kings and empires. And in doing so, they have cut themselves off from the source of order, peace, and blessing. He paused, and urgency entered his voice. But your people must be different, Moses. They must keep the calendar of heaven. If they do, they will walk in step with the Creator himself. They will keep Sabbaths as the Lord ordained them. They will celebrate festivals at the appointed times. And they will be a light to the nations, a living testimony that there is a God in heaven who orders all things according to wisdom. The responsibility settled on Moses like a mantle. I will teach them, he said. I will write it all down so they will never forget. The angel smiled, and there was something like pride in his eyes. Good, Moses. For this is why you were called, not only to deliver your people from Egypt, but to restore to them the rhythm of heaven, the sacred calendar given to Adam, preserved through Noah, passed through Abraham, and now entrusted to Israel through you. Moses looked again at the tablets and saw something that made his heart leap. At the center of them all stood a figure clothed in white, the focal point around which all history seemed to turn. His face was radiant, filled with a love so pure Moses could barely endure the sight. "Who is he, my Lord?" Moses whispered. The angel's voice became reverent. "He is the promised one, Moses, the seed of the woman spoken of in the garden, the blessing promised to Abraham, through whom all nations will be blessed. The Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. He is the fulfillment of the calendar, the completion of the festivals, the embodiment of every Sabbath." Moses' breath caught. When will he come? The angel looked at him with eyes that carried eternity. In the fullness of time, when every week has been counted, when every jubilee has passed, when the world is ready to receive him. And when he comes, he will live according to the calendar of heaven. He will keep Passover at the appointed time, and on that day he will become the Passover lamb. He will rise on the day after the Sabbath, the first day of the new week, the dawn of a new creation. And he will send his Spirit on the day of Pentecost, the 50th day, the day of release, when all things are made new. Moses bowed his head, overcome. And will the nations receive him? The angel's face softened with sorrow. Some will not. For the same choice given to Adam, to Noah, to Abraham, will be given to every soul. To walk in the rhythm of heaven, or to follow the ways of the world, to trust God's appointed times, or invent their own, to surrender to the Creator, or crown themselves as master. He placed his hand upon Moses' head, and warmth flooded through him, strength not his own. But you, Moses, will write these things. You will record the calendar of heaven, so your people will have a guide, a map, a way to walk with the Lord. And though the world may forget, though nations may turn away, there will always be a remnant, a faithful few who remember, who keep the Sabbaths, who honor the festivals, who live by heaven's rhythm. Moses lifted his eyes, wet with tears. "I will write, my Lord. I will write until my hand can write no more. Every word, every law, every covenant, every calendar, and I will trust the Lord to preserve it so that when the promised one comes, the people will be ready." The angel smiled, a smile woven of joy and sorrow, hope and longing. "Then write, Moses, and know this. What you are writing is not only for your generation, but for all generations. For the Book of Jubilees will be read by the righteous in every age, by those who hunger for truth, by those who long to walk in the ways of the Lord. And though it may be hidden, though it may be banned, though many may forget it, it will never be lost. For the word of God endures forever." And Moses wrote. He wrote of the heavenly tablets, history inscribed before the world began. He wrote of the calendar set in the courts of heaven. He wrote of the promised one, the center of all things. And he wrote of the choice offered to every soul, to walk in heaven's rhythm or wander in the confusion of earth. The angel watched in silence, and the fire on the mountain burned on. Chapter 9. Why was it hidden? The light around Moses began to dim. The heavenly tablets faded like stars dissolving at dawn. The angel stood beside him still, silent. For a long moment neither spoke. At last Moses lifted his head, voice quiet, careful. "My Lord, you have shown me the calendar of heaven. You have taught me the rhythm of creation. You have revealed history written before time itself. But if this knowledge is sacred, true, essential, why will it be hidden? Why will it be forgotten? The angel's gaze grew distant, as though looking far beyond Moses' life, beyond the wilderness, beyond the promised land, into centuries yet unseen. Because, Moses, he said quietly, truth is always the first thing the world tries to destroy. A chill ran through Moses. But why, my Lord? Why would anyone want to destroy the calendar of heaven? The angel turned to him, sorrowful wisdom in his face. Because the calendar of heaven is not merely a way of counting days, it is a declaration of who holds authority over time itself. And in every generation there are those who wish to claim that authority for themselves. He lifted his hand, and before Moses, images formed like shadows cast by an unseen fire. In the centuries to come, after your people enter the land, after kings rise and fall, after the temple is built and destroyed, a great empire will rise in the west. Moses watched armies march in perfect lines, roads cut through mountains. Emperors sat on marble thrones beneath crowns of laurel. They will call it Rome, the angel said, and Rome will seek to rule not only lands and peoples, but time itself. The vision sharpened further. In the year 325, after the birth of the Promised One, a Roman emperor named Constantine will gather the leaders of the church in a city called Nicaea. Moses saw a vast hall filled with bishops and priests, robes flowing, voices raised in fierce debate. They will discuss many matters, the angel said. The nature of the Promised One, the authority of the church, the shape of doctrine. But among their decisions will be one with profound consequences for the calendar of heaven. Moses leaned forward, heart pounding. What will they decide, my Lord? The angel's voice turned heavy. They will choose the calendar of Rome, the Julian calendar, a year of 365 days, with an added day every 4 years. And they will reject the calendar of heaven, 364 days, 52 perfect weeks, the rhythm established at creation. Grief rose in Moses like a wave. But why, my Lord? Why abandon heaven's calendar? The angel's eyes flashed. For 3 reasons. 3 reasons that will echo through the ages. He raised one finger. First, because the calendar of heaven makes worship dependent on the heavens, not on human authority. If Sabbaths and festivals fall with perfect order, then no council, no emperor, no priest can move them. But a calendar of adjustments, leap days, corrections, human decree requires constant intervention, and intervention creates power for those who control it. A second finger. Second, because the Book of Jubilees speaks too clearly of angels, of the watchers, of heavenly tablets, of time ordained by God. It places authority in heaven, not in institutions. And that threatens those who wish to become gatekeepers of divine knowledge. A third finger, and his voice dropped, quieter but no less intense. Third, because heaven's calendar is precise. Anyone who reads it can follow it. Anyone can know the appointed times. And if people can walk with God without needing a priest to tell them when to worship, without needing a council to declare the festivals, then institutional power weakens. Moses swallowed hard. So, they will hide it. The angel nodded slowly. Yes. In the centuries after the Promised One, councils will declare the Book of Jubilees is not scripture. They will call it apocrypha, hidden writings too mystical, too dangerous, too precise. They will claim it was not written by you, Moses. They will remove it from the canon. Pain tightened Moses' chest. But my Lord, I am writing it now. You are showing it to me. How can they say it is not true? The angel's face softened with compassion. Because, Moses, they will no longer believe that angels still speak to men. They will not believe the calendar of heaven can be known with such certainty. They will not believe that the rhythm of creation is fixed, unchanging beyond the reach of councils and crowns. They will prefer a calendar that bends to their will, rather than a calendar that requires them to bend to the will of God. The angel lifted his hand, and the vision shifted again. Moses saw manuscripts being copied by trembling candlelight in hidden rooms. He saw ink-stained hands moving quickly in the hush of monasteries. He saw scrolls wrapped in linen and tucked into clay jars, sealed and buried. He saw men and women crossing deserts and climbing mountains with sacred pages pressed to their chests, risking everything rather than letting the truth die. But the Book of Jubilees will not be destroyed, the angel said. It will be preserved in the east among the faithful in Ethiopia, in Egypt, in Syria. It will be kept and copied by hand. It will be read in worship and prayed over in the quiet hours of the night. For there will always be a remnant few, but faithful who remember, who refuse the ways of the world, who hold fast to the rhythm of heaven. Moses saw the Ethiopian highlands, ancient monasteries carved into stone cliffs, rising like fortresses of prayer. He heard priests chanting in a language older than empires, their voices steady as rivers. He saw manuscripts glowing softly in candlelight, the pages worn at the edges by generations of hands. In Ethiopia, the angel said, the Book of Jubilees will not be forbidden. It will be kept openly, read, taught, carried into worship, for they will understand what much of the West will forget. The calendar is not merely a tool for organizing days. It is a sacred gift, a way of walking in step with the Creator himself. A glimmer of hope rose in Moses' chest. And in the West, my Lord, he asked, will it ever be found again? The angel smiled, sad, but bright with quiet hope. Yes, Moses. In the 19th century of the new era, a scholar will journey to Ethiopia and find a complete manuscript. He will bring it back and translate it, and the world will be stunned. For they will see that the book they believed was lost, the book they dismissed as legend, still lives, and they will compare it to ancient fragments preserved elsewhere, and they will know it is old. It is real. It is not a dream. Moses' eyes filled again. Then it will be remembered. The calendar of heaven will be known again. The angel rested a hand on Moses' shoulder. It will be known by those who seek it, not by the many, but by the few. For the world will still love its own rhythms, its own calendars, its own sense of control. But there will always be a remnant, those who hunger for truth, who long to walk with God, who refuse to let the sacred rhythm be erased. His gaze locked onto Moses, fierce with conviction. And that is why you must write, so that in every generation there will be a voice crying in the wilderness, this is the way, walk in it. You must write so that when the promised one comes, there will be those who recognize him, who understand the times, who honor the appointed moments. You must write so that when the world is drowning in confusion, there will still be a map, a guide, a light in the darkness. Moses bowed his head. I will write, my Lord, every word, every law, every calendar, every covenant, and I will trust the Lord to preserve it even if the world tries to destroy it. The angel smiled. Good, for the word of God cannot be chained, it cannot be burned, it cannot be banned, it can only be forgotten. And even then, it waits patient as a seed beneath the soil until the appointed time when it rises again. Moses took up his stylus, and he wrote, of counsels yet to come, of calendars altered, of sacred pages condemned. He wrote of Ethiopia, the land where truth would be guarded like fire. He wrote of the remnant, the faithful few in every age who would not let heaven's rhythm die. The angel watched in silence, and the fire on the mountain burned on. Chapter 10, The Lost Calendar and the Modern World. The fire on Mount Sinai flickered now, not roaring but steady, like embers that refused to surrender. The night had grown deep, and the stars overhead shone with a living brilliance, as if they too bore witness to what was being written. Moses sat with the stylus in hand, his heart heavy with everything he had seen. The angel stood beside him, wings folded, face turned toward the horizon, where the faintest line of dawn began to form. My Lord, Moses said quietly, you have shown me the past from creation to the flood, from Noah to Abraham. You have shown me the future counsels that will hide this book, nations that will forget the calendar of heaven. But what of the world that comes after? What happens when time is no longer sacred? The angel turned, and in his eyes was a sorrow that seemed to span centuries. Then, Moses, the world will begin to resemble the days before the flood, when might makes right, when the powerful set the pace, and the weak are left to stumble in exhaustion and confusion. He lifted his hand, And visions formed again, yet these were not ancient scenes. They were images of an age Moses could scarcely comprehend. He saw cities rising like mountains of glass and steel, towers piercing the clouds. He saw lights blazing through the night until darkness became only a pale imitation of day. He saw endless streams of people moving through streets like rivers of ants, faces tense, eyes fixed on small glowing devices in their hands. Their lives were measured not by Sabbaths and festivals, but by hours and minutes and seconds, mechanical ticks and numbers that never slept. "This is the world that comes," the angel said softly, "when the calendar of heaven is forgotten. A world where time is no longer a gift, but a commodity bought, sold, optimized, managed. A world where rest is treated like weakness, where Sabbath is dismissed as inconvenience, where the festivals become mere holidays, empty shells stripped of their sacred meaning." Moses watched, heart aching. He saw workers laboring without pause, bodies bent, spirits crushed under the weight of endless toil. He saw children staring into glowing screens, their days divided not by sunrise and sunset, but by schedules shaped by institutions and markets. He saw families scattered across vast distances, connected by voices carried through invisible pathways, yet rarely sharing a table, rarely resting together, rarely keeping sacred time as one. "Without the calendar of heaven," the angel continued, "humanity loses its anchor. Time becomes malleable, shaped by those in power. Calendars are revised for politics. Holidays are shifted for commerce. And the Sabbath, the day God made holy, becomes just another day, indistinguishable from the rest." Moses understood, and the words rose from him like a lament. "They have made themselves slaves, my Lord, not to Pharaoh, not to Babylon, but to time itself, time that never rests, never pauses, never allows them to lift their eyes to heaven." The angel nodded slowly. "Yes, when mankind abandoned heaven's rhythm, they lost the pattern that sustained them. Work and rest, planting and harvest, celebration and reflection. And in losing that rhythm, they weakened their connection to the Creator." Then his voice softened, touched with hope. "But even in that world, Moses, there will be those who remember. Small communities, hidden pockets of faith, people who still keep the Sabbath, who still count the weeks, who still honor the appointed times." Moses swallowed. "And they will be mocked," the angel said, "called outdated, superstitious, out of step with the modern world. But they will know what the world has forgotten." "What is that, my Lord?" Moses whispered. The angel smiled gently. "That time is not the master, God is. That the calendar is not a prison, it is a doorway. And that when you walk in heaven's rhythm, you are not crushed by time. You are made free within it, moving in harmony with the heartbeat of creation." Another vision unfolded. Moses saw a small gathering in a modest home. Candles were lit, bread was broken, a cup was lifted. Voices rose, ancient words, the language of psalms and prophets sung with quiet strength. "These are the faithful," the angel said, "the remnant. In every generation, there are those who refuse to let the calendar of heaven die. Among the Jews, there will still be communities who keep Sabbath from sundown to sundown, who count the weeks, who honor Passover, atonement, and tabernacles. Among the Christians, there will still be those who set apart sacred time, who resist the tyranny of endless work, who insist that worship and rest are not luxuries, but lifelines." Moses felt gratitude swell in him. "And the calendar itself, my Lord, the 364 days, does anyone still keep it?" The angel's expression grew thoughtful. "In Ethiopia, Moses, the ancient rhythms will still be honored. Their churches will carry the memory forward through liturgy, through worship, through a living tradition that refuses to forget." He raised his hand again, and Moses saw the highlands once more. Rock-hewn sanctuaries, priests chanting, manuscripts glowing in candlelight. They keep their feasts, they honor holy days. They remember that time can be sacred, and though the world may not notice them, though they may seem small and hidden, they are a beacon, a witness in the darkness that what you are writing is not legend, but living truth. The angel lowered his hand. The vision faded. The mountain remained. Moses sat in the hush that followed, trembling not with fear now but with purpose. And the fire on the mountain burned on. Tears streamed down Moses' face. "Then it is not lost, my Lord," he whispered. "Even in the darkest times the calendar of heaven is not lost." The angel smiled. "No, Moses, it is never lost. It is only forgotten. And when it is forgotten, God raises up the faithful to remember. That is how it has always been. That is how it will always be." Then the angel turned, and urgency entered his voice. "But there is something more you must understand, something that will give hope to every soul who reads these words in the generations to come." Moses lifted his eyes. "What is it, my Lord?" The angel's gaze was steady, fierce with unshakable conviction. "The calendar of heaven is not merely about counting days, Moses. It is about counting down. Counting down to the moment the promised one comes. Counting down to the Jubilee of Jubilees, the 50th of 50s, when every debt is forgiven, every slave is set free, and the earth itself is renewed." Moses' breath caught. "When, my Lord? When will he come?" The angel's voice softened to a near whisper. "In the fullness of time, when every week has been counted, when every jubilee has passed, when the world is ready, when the faithful are watching, when the remnant has preserved the rhythm of heaven, then he will come, and he will fulfill every festival." He paused, and the words fell like sacred stones into still water. "He will keep Passover at the appointed time, and he will become the Passover lamb. He will rise on the first day of the week, the day after the Sabbath, the dawn of a new creation. And he will send his Spirit on Pentecost, the 50th day, the day of release, when all things are made new." Moses bowed his head, overcome with awe. "And those who keep the calendar, my Lord, will they recognize him?" The angel nodded. "Some will, not all. For even among those who count the days, some hearts will remain hard. But there will be a few, a faithful remnant who will see the signs and understand the times. And they will say, 'This is the one. This is the fulfillment of all that was written.'" He laid his hand upon Moses' head, and warmth poured through him strength that was not his own. "And that is why you must write, Moses, so that in every generation there will be watchers, men and women who are counting, waiting, listening, so that when he comes, the world will not be completely dark. There will be lights small, scattered, but real, and those lights will lead others to the truth." A deep peace settled over Moses. "I will write, my Lord," he said. "I will write until the sun rises, until my task is complete. And I will trust the Lord to preserve it, to raise up faithful ones to remember. And one day, the calendar of heaven will be restored to all the earth." The angel smiled, and something like pride shone in his eyes. "Good, Moses. For that is the heart of the Book of Jubilees, not merely a history, not merely a calendar, but a promise. That God has not forgotten his people, that he has not abandoned his creation, and that in the fullness of time, all things will be made new." Moses lifted his stylus one final time. He wrote of the modern world, of the loss of sacred rhythm, of the slavery that comes when humanity forgets heaven's calendar. He wrote of the remnant, the faithful few in every generation who refuse to let truth die. He wrote of Ethiopia, the land where the memory endured. And he wrote of the promise, the certainty that one day the promised one would come and the calendar of heaven would be fulfilled. The angel watched in silence. And as the first hint of dawn touched the peak of Mount Sinai, the fire began to fade. Moses set down his stylus. "It is finished, my Lord." The angel placed his hand upon his shoulder. "Yes, Moses, it is finished. Now go down from this mountain, return to your people, teach them the calendar of heaven. And know this, what you have written will endure not because of your strength, but because it is the word of God, and the word of God cannot be destroyed." Moses bowed his head. "Thank you, my Lord." The angel smiled. "Go in peace, Moses, and walk always in the rhythm of heaven." And then the angel was gone. Moses stood alone on the mountaintop, the tablets of the law in his hands, and the Book of Jubilees written upon his heart. Below, the people of Israel waited. And Moses, faithful servant of the Most High, began his descent, carrying the calendar of heaven, the sacred rhythm, the promise that would guide his people through wilderness and centuries, through darkness and light, until the day when all things would be made new. And now, as this telling draws to a close, as the vision fades and the fire on the mountain grows dim, let your heart rest in what has been revealed. Time was never yours to control. From the beginning, before the sun rose on the first day, before the moon traced its path through night, before the stars were scattered like seeds across the vault of heaven, time was a gift, a sacred rhythm, the heartbeat of God poured into creation. 364 days, 52 perfect weeks, 4 seasons moving in harmony, every Sabbath returning like a faithful friend, every festival arriving at its appointed moment. This is the calendar of heaven, the rhythm by which all things were made, and by which all things will one day return to the Lord. The world has forgotten this rhythm. The nations have followed the moon, the stars, the invented cycles of kings and priests. They have bent time to serve their purposes, turned Sabbath into just another day, reduced festivals into hollow holidays, and lost the sense of heaven touching earth. But the truth still stands, written on tablets of light in the courts of the Most High, preserved by the faithful remnant in every generation, kept alive in places the world rarely notices, where monks still chant in ancient tongues and sacred time is still honored. And tonight, as you drift toward sleep, you are invited to step out of the frantic, the broken rhythm of the modern world and into something older, something truer, something that has been waiting for you since the foundations of time. Close your eyes. Let go of the hours you counted today. Let go of deadlines and worries. Let go of the pressure to hold every minute as if it might slip away. Time is not slipping from your hands. Time is held in the hands of God, and in His hands you are safe. Breathe in, slowly. Breathe out. Feel the weight of the day lift from your shoulders like a cloak set down at the end of a long journey. You do not need to carry it into the night. Let it fall. Let it rest. For this is the Sabbath of the soul, the moment when heaven's rhythm brushes against the world of men and eternity whispers to the weary heart, "Be still. Be at peace. You are mine." In the beginning, God created time not as a taskmaster, but as a gift, not to imprison you, but to free you to teach your life a holy rhythm, to remind you that every moment has its place. Every season has its beauty. Every breath is known. Every day is held within His eternal now. And though the world may forget, the calendar of heaven is not lost to you. You have heard the story. You have climbed the mountain. You have seen the tablets of light. And now that rhythm is written not on stone, not on parchment, but on your heart. Listen. Can you hear it? A quiet pulse beneath the silence. The steady heartbeat of creation itself, counting out the moments, not with anxiety, not with hurry, but with the calm confidence of the one who holds all things together. You are part of that rhythm. You always have been. And as you sleep tonight, you will rest in the arms of the one who made time, who set the sun and moon and stars in their places, who knows the number of your days, and who loves you with a love that does not change. So rest now, child of the Most High. Rest in the sacred rhythm. Rest in the knowledge that time is a gift, not a burden. Rest in the promise that when all weeks have been counted, when all jubilees have passed, when the promised one returns in glory, time itself will be healed, and you will walk forever in the rhythm of heaven, where there is no rush, no fear of running out of moments, only peace, only joy, only the eternal now. Good night. May you sleep in sacred time, knowing you are loved, you are held, and you are never alone. Amen.